Russell Westbrook. You love the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me get a hell yeah!
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Party on Broad. Today we are talking Malachi Flynn, point guard from San Diego State. Joining us today is my man Thiago. Follow him on Twitter at @tscabia. What's going on, man?
Been great, man. Here to talk some San Diego State. Nice and sunny California.
Are you sure we're recording?
Yes. You made me have a heart attack.
We are now.
Come on, man. All right. Also joining us today is the asshole. He is Austin Krell at Krell TPO. What's going on? What's going on, man?
What the fuck, Dive? What is going on here?
I'm not really sure.
I will admit, back in my younger days, I used to pronounce Malachi as Malachi. So for a while, I would call dude's name Malachi Malachi. So you can imagine me running around looking at like being like, did you see that guy Malachi Richardson for Syracuse? Or did you see that guy Malachi Flynn from San Diego State? I was like the biggest fucking dumbass in the world. But I'm glad that I figured out, oh, Malachi is just a Jewish man's name, but it's also it's pronounced Malachi, and it's spelled like that. So now Malachi is no more. It is now Malachi through and through.
Awesome.
All right, this is a historical podcast.
Make sure you follow the Feed to Embiid. That is Austin's other podcast. Covers everything Philadelphia 76ers and the NBA. That is at the Feed to Embiid on Twitter. All right, Thiago, tell us a little bit.
And on there is called the Feed to Embiid.
The Feed to Embiid. All right, Thiago wrote an awesome breakdown on my man Malachi Flynn. Check that out. Check out that article at thepaintlines.com. What's going on, Thiago? Tell us a little bit about Malachi Flynn.
Yeah, man, Malachi, not Malachi, Malachi. It's a tale of two tapes with Malachi, man. He started at Washington State, spent 2 years there, and you watch a couple of his games down in Washington State. You can clearly tell it was just a green light kind of guy. The team was really, really bad. He took over 650 shots in 2 seasons, and they won a combined of 25 total games. So this kind of gives you a framework of what he had to deal with at Washington State to start of his career. Now, took a year off and then transferred out to San Diego State. And from then on, everything changed for Malachi. They put him in a heavy pick and roll offense. And from then on, you really started to see some of what Malachi is good at and some of the things he needs to work on. But again, you're talking about the Mountain Western Conference Player of the Year. You talk about consensus All-American, and you're talking about the guy who led the nation in win shares. So you can see a little bit of how his play started to drive wins and not just volume. And if you break the tape down on Malachi, he really does a lot of interesting things from a pro level that I think a lot of teams that are picking in that back end of the first round are really going to be interested in. He's a kind of a pro-ready guy offensively, can really come in and kind of give you some minutes at the back end of the rotation. So for Malachi Flynn, I think the main question is he the guy that looked a little bit too slow for the Pac-12? Or is he the guy that really kind of took over the nation at the Mountain West Conference and can really come in and kind of give you some critical minutes moving forward in the NBA? So yeah, Malachi Flynn is a name worth keeping an eye on here at the back end of the first round for sure.
Yeah, man. Awesome breakdown. Let's talk a little bit about Malachi Flynn's strengths. I'll lead us off. I like his potential in the pick and roll, guys. I see this guy as pretty strong in all the areas that would allow him to thrive in the NBA. In that pick and roll, he can shoot in a myriad of ways. He can spot up, off the dribble, pull up. He's also a very good passer. He's got a really strong IQ, and he's a playmaker. So I think Flynn's ability to score and create for others in the pick and roll is kind of really the main sell here. What about you, Austin? What's the strength of Malachi Flynn?
I think the common theme of this episode is going to be that he's a very good pick and roll point guard. I think he's going to be, a terror for teams, because I think in order to be a really good point guard, not only do you have to have, or in the pick and roll at least, not only do you have to have, excellent vision and the ability to sort of be speedy and create your own shot, but you also have to have the footwork to know how to operate a pick and roll. You need to know how to, use your feet to get to open spots, how to beat a guy, how to accelerate, when to decelerate. And I think he is going to be just a killer with the ability to sort of navigate the pick and roll and be really just sort of a 6'1", like hard to contain kind of guy. He can rise up and shoot. You can't back off of him. If you do, he'll shoot in your face. If you try to over him, he'll find a way around you. He's kind of like the Shabazz Napier model. I think that's a comp that's thrown around a lot. But I think to guys that are smaller who can shoot the ball, even though they can't defend that well, they still pose a big threat because they're so capable of so many different things in a very basic NBA offense.
What about you, Thiago?
Yeah, I mean, Austin kind of touched on it, and you did as well. I mean, he's not physically imposing. He's not a guy you look at and you're like, man, there's an NBA player right there. But you watch him on the ball, he's super crafty. And I think it speaks a little bit to his high-level IQ. He's a guy who's going to go left and cut right. He's the guy who goes stop, he's going to go. And he really leaves the defenders guessing on the ball. And I think that really plays out well, not only in pick and roll, but in switches. I mean, I saw games where he got a guy, small forward, power forward, he towered over him and could move a little bit, but you could tell, I mean, he kind of set him up one way, cut him the next. I think that craftiness speaks to his high level of IQ, his level of understanding of the game, and it's something that really plays out primarily, again, what you guys said, on the pick and roll, where he was about 40% usage there. So what San Diego State really, really drove that point home. And when they were not running pick and roll offense, they really put it more off ball. And I am a really big believer on the shot. He's able to shoot not only static, not only has a pretty good static shot, but he can shoot a little bit off balance, a little bit off movement. So the coaching there was fantastic. They utilized him in a variety of different ways, obviously primarily on the pick and roll, but off the pick and roll, they could really utilize him in ways to get him more offense. And I think, that part of his game is going to play out well in the NBA as well. So, yeah.
Would you take him over Jordan Nwora?
I would absolutely take him over Jordan Nwora. And I know that really disappoints you, Austin.
I thought I had.
I tried, man. I tried for my love for Jordan Nwora, but it just hasn't happened.
If Jordan Nwora isn't inviting me to his wedding, I'm going to be very upset. No one has been a bigger advocate of Jordan Nwora than me.
Well, you go to his wedding and then let me know how it goes. I may change my mind about Jordan. Until then, I'm out. Sorry.
Oh my God. All right, let's talk a little bit about weaknesses. I have defensive potential, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, Thiago. But he was a really strong defender in college, but obviously has some limited defensive versatility, lack of length, strength, athleticism, 6'3" wingspan. So I think it's always going to be an uphill battle for Malachi Flynn. However, this is a guy that certainly puts in the effort, at least on the tape. He's a very active defender, very big-time hustler, smart defender. What about you, Austin? What's a weakness for Malachi Flynn?
So for me, I think the weakness is just going to be like, when you're small, you have to have the energy on defense to be like effective. And I think he just sort of accepts the fact that he can't defend for worth anything. So it's like, would you like to go around this traffic cone or shoot over this traffic cone? And like, he doesn't even try to get in the way. It's just sort of like, I don't know that there's going to be a situation where he's always playable, unless you're up or down by 40 points. But
what about you?
I don't see the defensive effort there, and I have to disagree. And that's one of the things that drove me absolutely crazy about Malachi. He was a Mountain Western Conference all-defensive team. I have no idea how he was named Mountain Western Conference all-defense. I don't pretend to watch the Mountain Western Conference, so maybe he was worthy of that honor. But even off ball, like, he would be caught like in La La Land, and I guess guy would just come right behind him, cut to the rim, and get an easy shot. To your point, Chris, like, he does have some good defensive tools. He attacks the ball. He's got fast hands. He does move his feet when he wants to. But that effort and that level of consistency is just not there. And for a guy who wants to really make a name for himself in the NBA, He's got to put a little bit more effort, a little bit more consistency on that end of the court to really kind of to earn some NBA minutes, because teams are not going to put up with the guy who's just not going to put it, who's just going to stand there and ball watch. Physically, yeah, he's going to get dominated at times, and that's just part of his makeup. But off ball, he's got to improve a lot more.
All right, let's talk about best fits in the NBA draft. I see Flynn as a late first rounder, early second round pick. So I'm going with the New York Knicks. I think for me, the Knicks make a lot of sense because currently they have picks 27 and 38 in this year's draft. You look at their point guards, Alfred Payton, Frank Ntilikina, and Dennis Smith Jr. Those guys don't do anything for me. So I think a playmaking score-first combo guard could be a really solid addition to them, maybe in that top of the second round. What about you, Austin?
I think the South Bay Lakers would be a really good place for. No, I'm kidding. I think the LA Lakers would be a good spot for him. I think they really need a point guard who can play off ball with LeBron there, and I think they need a shooter. And I think Malachi Flynn makes a lot of sense for them in a pick and roll situation with Anthony Davis. I can sort of see like plays where it becomes like a two-man game where they're running pick and rolls, and then you have LeBron in the weak side corner, and you're like, okay, what's he going to do now? This is like a whole buffet. How do we make this, and it's like, do we lob to LeBron? Does AD cut to the rim, and then it's a dunk there? Does Malachi rise up and shoot it? I think he could do that. Having said that, if you draft this guy at the end of the first round, just WYD, question mark.
What about you, Thiago?
What you doing?
I don't know. Back in the first round, man. Come on now.
I take him early third round.
Okay, so that's how you feel about him. Fair enough.
He's no Jordan Nwora, I'll tell you that.
Oh man.
Go ahead, Thiago. Who's a good fit?
I love the fit in New York, and I think him and Mitchell Robinson would be awesome. I think Mitchell Robinson needs to play with an elite point guard on the pick and roll. I think his offensive game would just go off. My fit, however, is the Boston Celtics.
Yep.
Austin disagrees. I don't know.
This man says, I want to put him with an elite point guard, so let's give him somebody who may or may not be able to play in the Pac-12.
I mean, in the pick and roll, man. I understand. Like, listen.
I love it.
All Mitchell Robinson needs is the guy's going to throw up lobs, and this guy can do that in bunches. So that's what I meant. My fit
Trey Burke 2.0.
There you go. Trey Burke for Frank. There you go. My fit is the Boston Celtics, and Boston is again another heavy pick and roll offense. They have really good pick and roll guys in Tatum and Kemba Walker. If you look at their bench, it's not the same. Carson Edwards and Brett Wanamaker did not have the same proficiency, and Brett Wanamaker is going to be a free agent. So for me, that slides in right away as an ideal fit. And you can also have Tatum play a little bit more off ball. He's a great shooter. He can get a lot more open looks that way. So for me, Boston is more of an ideal fit, and I do think he's going to be a first-round pick. You can write that down.
Imagine
write it down.
Imagine like you have a pick and roll at Kemba setting the screen. Malachi Flynn is the one in the ball. You have teams being like, what is going on here?
The Kemba pick and pop.
You're like, huh? Brad Stevens did what?
No. Somehow he'd be framed as a genius after that, and maybe he would be. I don't know.
All right, so that wraps it up. Make sure you follow my man Thiago on Twitter at @tscabia. Check out Austin Krell on Twitter at KrellTPL, and the Feed to Embiid podcast. That is at the Feed to Embiid. For Thiago, for Austin, for myself, stay awesome, guys.
Sixers win it! Wow! Oh man, Embiid just posterized Russell Westbrook.